Chapter 5. There are three heavens. There are three heavens, entirely distinct from one another: the inmost or third, the middle or second, and the outermost or first. These are in the same order and interrelation as are the highest part of a man or his head, the middle part or body, and the lowest or feet, or like the upper, middle, and lowest stories of a house. In such order also is the divine that proceeds and descends from the Lord. Consequently, from the necessity of order, heaven is threefold. The interiors of a man which belong to his internal mind and his external mind are also in like order. He has an inmost, a middle, and an outermost part. For when man was created, all things of divine order were brought together in him, so that he became divine order in form, and consequently a heaven in the least form. For this reason, man, as regards his interiors, has communication with the heavens. Also he comes after death among angels, among those of the inmost, middle, or outermost heaven, in accordance with the reception of divine good and truth from the Lord while he lived in the world. The divine which inflows from the Lord and is received in the third or inmost heaven is called celestial, and in consequence the angels there are called celestial angels. The divine inflowing from the Lord and received in the second or middle heaven is called spiritual, and in consequence the angels there are called spiritual angels. Whereas the divine inflowing from the Lord and received in the outermost or first heaven is called natural. But because the natural of that heaven is not like the natural of the world, but has in it the spiritual and the celestial, therefore that heaven is called spiritual and celestial natural, and in consequence the angels there are called spiritual natural and celestial natural. Those who receive influx from the middle or second heaven, which is the spiritual heaven, are called spiritual natural. And those who receive influx from the third or inmost heaven, which is the celestial heaven, are called celestial natural. The spiritual natural and the celestial natural angels are distinct from each other, but yet they constitute one heaven because they are in one degree. In each heaven there is an internal and an external. Those in the internal are there called internal angels, while those in the external are there called external angels. The internal and the external in the heavens, or in each heaven, have the same relation as the voluntary and its intellectual with a man, the internal being as the voluntary and the external as its intellectual. Each voluntary has its own intellectual. The one cannot exist without the other. The voluntary may be compared to a flame, and its intellectual to the light therefrom. It ought to be clearly understood that with the angels it is their interiors which cause them to be in one heaven or another. For the more their interiors are open towards the Lord, the more interior is the heaven in which they are. There are 3 degrees of the interiors with each angel, as well as with each spirit, and also with man. Those with whom the third degree has been opened are in the inmost heaven. Those with whom the second degree has been opened, or only the first, are in the middle or in the outermost heaven. The interiors are opened by the reception of divine good and divine truth. Those who are affected by divine truths and admit them at once into their life, thus into their will and thence into action, are in the inmost or third heaven, and have their place in accordance with their reception of good from the affection of truth. Those, however, who do not admit truths at once into the will, but into the memory, and thence into the understanding, and who from this will and do them, are in the middle or second heaven. But those who live morally and believe in a divine being, but do not care greatly about being taught, are in the outermost or first heaven. From this it can be confirmed that the states of the interiors make heaven, and that heaven is within everyone and not outside him, as the Lord teaches when he says, "The kingdom of God cometh not with observation. Neither shall they say, Lo here, or Lo there, for behold, the kingdom of God ye have within you." Furthermore, all perfection increases towards interiors and decreases towards exteriors, since interiors are nearer to the divine, and are in themselves purer, while exteriors are more remote from the divine, and are in themselves grosser. Angelic perfection consists in intelligence, wisdom, love, and every good, and in the happiness therefrom, but not in happiness without these, for without them happiness is external and not internal. Because with the angels of the inmost heaven the interiors have been opened in the third degree, their perfection immeasurably surpasses that of the angels in the middle heaven, whose interiors have been opened in the second degree. In the same way, the perfection of the angels of the middle heaven exceeds the perfection of the angels of the outermost heaven. Because such distinction exists, an angel of one heaven cannot go among the angels of another heaven. That is, no one can ascend from a lower heaven, neither can anyone descend from a higher heaven. One ascending from a lower heaven is seized with a distress amounting to anguish, and is unable to see those who are there. Still less can he talk with them, while one descending from a higher heaven is deprived of his wisdom, hesitates in his speech, and gives up in despair. There were some from the outermost heaven who had not yet been taught that heaven is established in the interiors of an angel, and who believed that they might come into a higher heavenly happiness simply by access to a heaven where higher angels are. They were even permitted to enter among such angels, but when they were there, they saw no one, however much they searched, although there was a great multitude present. For the interiors of the newcomers had not been opened in the same degree as the interiors of the angels there, consequently neither was their sight opened. Shortly after this, they were seized with such anguish of heart that they scarcely knew whether they were alive or not. Therefore they hastily betook themselves to the heaven from which they came, glad to come among their own companions, and promising that they would no longer desire things higher than are in agreement with their life. Again, I have seen some sent down from a higher heaven, and deprived of their wisdom until they no longer knew what their own heaven was. It happens otherwise when, as is often done, the Lord raises some angels out of a lower heaven into a higher heaven that they may behold its glory. Then they are prepared beforehand and are encompassed by intermediate angels, through whom there is communication. From all this it is evident that the three heavens are entirely distinct one from another. Those, however, who are in the same heaven can associate with anyone there, and the delights of their association are in accordance with the affinities of good in which they are, of which more will be said in the sections following. Yet, although the heavens are so distinct that the angels of one heaven cannot have association in their affairs with the angels of another, still the Lord conjoins all the heavens by immediate and mediate influx. By immediate influx from himself into all the heavens, and by mediate influx from one heaven into another. He thus makes the three heavens to be one, and all to be in such connection from the first to the last, so that there is nothing that is not connected. Whatever is not connected through intermediates with the first does not continue in existence, but is dissipated and becomes nothing. He who does not know how degrees are related to divine order cannot comprehend how the heavens are distinct, or even what is meant by the internal and the external man. Most people in the world have no other idea of what is interior and what exterior, or of what is higher and what lower, than as something continuous or coherent by continuity, from what is purer to what is grosser. But the relationship of what is interior to what is exterior is not continuous, but discrete. There are two kinds of degrees, those that are continuous and those that are not. Continuous degrees are related like the degrees of the waning of light from a bright blaze until it is obscured, or like the degrees of a decrease of vision from objects in the light to those in the shade, or like degrees of purity of the atmosphere from its depths to its highest point. These degrees are determined by distances. On the other hand, degrees that are not continuous but discrete are distinguished like prior and posterior, like cause and effect, or like what produces and what is produced. Whoever looks into the matter will see that in each and all things in the whole world, whatever they are, there are such degrees of producing and compounding, that is, that from one thing comes another, and from the other a third, and so on. One who does not acquire for himself a perception of these degrees cannot possibly discern the distinctions of the heavens, nor between the interior and exterior faculties of man, nor the distinction between the spiritual and the natural world, nor between the spirit of man and his body. So neither can he understand the nature and source of correspondences and representations, nor what influx is. Sensual men do not apprehend these distinctions, for even where these degrees are concerned, they make increases and decreases to be continuous. Therefore they cannot have any conception of what is spiritual otherwise than as a purer natural. Consequently, they stand outside and are far removed from intelligence. Finally, respecting the angels of the three heavens, it is permissible to relate a certain arcanum which has not hitherto entered the mind of anyone, because degrees have not been understood. Namely, with every single angel and also with every single man, there is an inmost or highest degree, or an inmost or highest something into which the divine of the Lord first or most closely inflows, and from which it disposes the other interior things which succeed in accordance with the degrees of order with them. This inmost or highest degree may be called the entrance of the Lord to the angel or to the man, and his very own dwelling place with them. It is by virtue of this inmost or highest that a man is a man, and is distinguished from the brute animals which do not have it. It is from this that a man, unlike the animals, is capable, in respect of all his interior things which pertain to his mind and animus, of being raised up by the Lord to himself, of believing in the Lord, of being moved by love to the Lord and thereby beholding him, and of receiving intelligence and wisdom, and speaking from reason. Also, it is by reason of this that he lives to eternity. But what is arranged and provided by the Lord in this inmost does not openly inflow into the perception of any angel, because it is above his thought and transcends his wisdom. These now are the general truths respecting the three heavens, but each heaven in particular is to be treated of in what follows.